Will you bring me one? Yeah.
Yes, Megan.
All right, you're gonna get
Call this meeting to order. So the roll call. I think can I just say everybody's here except,
Nope.
we have to go, do you do it?
Yes, I do. I do.
Thank you.
Yes,
Go get
I
you.
thought it was fine.
That's fine. I have a release new agenda management program here, so.
Yeah.
Okay, board member Haney,
Here.
board member, or Secretary Patterson,
Yes, here.
Chair Hottinger, Vice Chair Newland,
Here.
board member Wells,
Here.
and trustee Heck.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, let's, do any motions to approve the agenda? Or in, wherever that word is, where you want to add something. Modify it. Amend.
I move we approve the agenda with maybe changing the date of Arbor Day from May 3rd, push it back to May 10th, because we get to decide on our own, but maybe we don't have to do that.
We can talk about that during
Yeah.
that
I move we approve the agenda.
I second.
approval of the minutes.
We have minutes?
They're
I didn't-
they're on the website.
Oh, I should check the
Yeah, we are.
website.
We are first class. Thanks to Sam.
I move we
If you
approve.
signed up with your town email too, I do email the agenda and the packet to you guys too, as soon as it's published, so.
Figure out how to do this. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
still.
if any of you need help getting into your town email, come in and I will help you.
We're also getting used to this.
I know,
because
I know.
It's so efficient. So thank you.
Oh, don't say that, now I'm gonna mess up, stop it. So yeah, no, pop in, give me a call, we'll set up a time and I'll help you guys get into your emails. You guys are gonna be learning our agenda management program here soon too, so.
So I will rephrase, did anybody have a chance to look at the minutes?
I did not because I have not set up an email and therefore I could not check the website. I need to do that.
I move that we approve the minutes anyway.
Why not? Nice. All right.
I am in favor of that.
Actions and presentations.
I need a second.
I did it.
Oh, okay.
I did it really quiet.
Okay, and then can I get a vote, please?
Oh, all in favor? of
Aye.
approving the agenda? Any names?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm a little confused. Is there any way that we can move public comments to the first action, or is it typically you have to go this order?
If you want to move it, since the agenda is set the way it was given to me, if you want to move it, you can with the majority vote, with a motion and a second.
We can do it next time. And the only reason I bring that up, guys, is we've talked about this for years. Why make the public sit through our whole meeting when if they want something to say, they can say it at the beginning?
Well, one thing is that if someone's sitting there, they may have come for something that's on the agenda and they want to hear what the discussion and decisions are before they come.
So we can ask that, or do we make them
Yes.
sit through the whole?
I know that as a person that's come in to comment on things, I felt uncomfortable and not very happy when they moved it up, because I felt like what they were trying to do is get us out while they discussed it later. So
So you're saying you didn't trust the transparency of?
I had experienced, I'm not talking about this.
Okay,
I had experienced some behavior that made me question the motivation. So I'm just saying that some people might be really thrilled because they just want to come say something and get out, and that might make them really happy, but other people might feel like you're trying to get them out before you discuss the topic.
We should give it public comments like twice. Why not? I mean, it's going to be the same amount of time used up.
the
You can give it
vice
to them, public comments, right at the first, or they can stay through the whole meeting and do it
We
like,
give them an option.
we give them an
Is there
option.
something on
And
the
it's
agenda?
available twice.
Something on the agenda you want to, something to consider. The vice chair recognizes.
I was gonna say, the way the board does it, I don't know if you'd be interested in that, but they have one at the beginning, but they also allow the public to talk on each agenda item. So that's an option too that you could do.
Excellent.
That's an excellent way to do it.
How do you phrase that then in the actions?
The way our mayor generally does it is after you get it presented and stuff like that, then she tends to ask, is there any public who would like to have, has something to say about this? There's generally a 3-minute time limit on it and people will get a chance to talk on that item. And if you do, you don't have to do the other public comment thing, but if you do, then it's generally that open public comment period is generally for items that are not on the agenda.
I like that.
Yeah, do the opening at the beginning and then a little bit after each topic.
After each topic, the
Yeah.
public has a chance to comment. Yeah. That's beautiful. All right. So we'll make sure we get that on the next agenda. Right? Or Sam, do you even have to list that?
I would need you guys to discuss it with Greg because your chair sets her agenda. So I would talk with him about setting it up that way.
That one sends out for next.
With who, Rick?
Great.
Greg.
Great. Oh, geez. Talking about getting old. Very good, thank you.
Yeah, well,
So actions and presentations, number one. So I was the only one to meet with the Public Works and Nikki was the only Public Works person. So she sent me an email, I forgot it on my phone, but I'm gonna go over what we talked about. And I may be jumping around a little bit. We talked about doing a Public Works pruning. They have changed their schedule to 4 10-hour days. So they're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10-hour days. So we can't do a Friday with us. Let me just do this. All right, yeah, this is where it's gonna get a little jumbled. So I told Nikki what we thought about doing with tree planting in the park. And she was, I don't know the right word to say it, she was not in favor of planting evergreen trees. Now, they aren't always, I forget what you say, they aren't always pine trees, they're usually spruce.
blue spruce is what
But
we're
you were
talking
saying
about.
pine,
No.
and so anyway, so they're evergreen trees, let's just say evergreens. She was not in favor, especially spruce, because of the way the lower branches grow and trash can get in there and it's hard to get the trash out. So it's the example of her frustration with this at Apple Valley. She trimmed something up to, I don't know how high, 5 or 6 feet. She got all the scaffold branches out. So in my opinion, she wrecked a beautiful, she didn't wreck, she changed the appearance of a beautiful tree by doing this when the tree wasn't ready yet, in my opinion. So what I tried to do is discuss with her, there really shouldn't be a huge maintenance issue as that tree grows up. The tree spreads litter, leaf litter, needle litter on the ground. It kills most everything on the ground. You don't have to mow underneath it. And you please correct me. Jump in. Jump in and correct me.
doing fine.
So with these lower branches spread out lower on the ground, there shouldn't be anything that grows when a tree gets mature. So I tried to make her, I offered my opinion, and I told her it was just my opinion, it wasn't the tree board. But I said, I'd like you to reconsider evergreen trees, especially spruce, in the park, because the park doesn't have anything like that. And in my opinion, it's not a maintenance issue. Now, the one thing I did mention to her that we talked about is evergreens can be a safety issue, depending on where they are. So we talked about that. So she wasn't in favor of evergreen trees. I'm just gonna move on. We don't have to discuss all that right now.
So
Okay, go ahead.
Can we make a
can
comment?
we Can we plant an evergreen or not? I mean, is it up to the tree board or is it up to Public Works or?
And I think it has to be a kind of a joint agreeable decision.
Even though we need variety in that park desperately.
It's an
I think-
educational piece. You have to work on it. Sure.
Can I think I have a spruce in my front yard, and it is one of the most horrible pine cone messes I've ever seen. Like, it throws pine cones, of course, mine's probably 40 foot tall, but it throws more pine cones than you can imagine.
And typically, wouldn't that be under stress when it produces that much?
Yeah, I don't know.
Fire hazard too.
It could be a fire.
Yeah, it's a fire,
hazard.
and they tend to, where deciduous trees can, if water well, be a little protective around fire, the evergreens, as you get more climate change and it gets drier, they get sickly quicker.
It's a water issue.
Yes,
Water boils down pure and simple. If they
Pure
water the
issue.
trees properly, then we won't have sickly trees.
Sitting on a pine cone isn't fun either.
No, you know, during the growing season, they're mowing and composting and the trees up, and I've never, my years had a true issue of pine cones being an issue around spruce or other.
No, and typically,
Really?
it's spruce in parks, which are small pine cones. It's
Yeah.
not big.
no, you're
sugar
right,
pine
they're little
cones.
ones.
Yeah, so in this environment, spruces seem to do well.
Mhm.
Plant those, the pine cones are usually small.
So where are they wanting, where is the board wanting to plant them?
Let's save that for when we get to maybe Arbor,
Okay,
because we did a major walkthrough.
okay.
Talked about it, so, I'll just go over this. So we have kind of hit, I don't want, it's not an impasse, it's another discussion. With Public Works.
Well, we're sort of coming up on that.
Yeah.
That's why I say let's push Arbor Day back to the 10th instead of the 3rd because
Sure.
we can't plant a tree apparently.
So with that, Corey wasn't there to talk about buying the trees. Nikki thought it'd be very easy to set up an account anywhere. And
Okay.
again, under $3,000, I think he can do with just his credit card.
Okay.
Cause that's what we did in 2022 when we did the Grand Street trees.
Quick question. Where are the trees that we plant sourced? Where do we get them?
Different nurseries. I know we've gotten some at, what's the one up in Junction?
There's Chelsea.
Chelsea's one.
Have you ever thought about CSU? They've got a tree nursery.
They're very small. They are,
Oh, yeah, but that's okay.
no, they won't survive in the park.
They're not doing that
They-
program either anymore. They're not doing the once
They're-
we'll
they're-
stop
Stop.
bundled in 100 or 50. They don't do that anymore.
Well, when I was on the farm, I planted 3,000 from there.
Yeah,
You know, it was
Yeah.
20 and 25.
Yeah, but they're this big and those size of trees will not hold up in a park.
Well, you just have to protect them.
Well,
Heck, Mike, we had a tree this big in Van West. So it's.
Well,
that's just my experience.
The problem with moving a bigger tree is they have to prune the roots to move it, and you set your tree back, because the roots have to catch up with everything else before the tree takes off and grow. Those little sapling trees will catch a transplant easy enough.
I think in certain cases maybe, but most of the trees around here are growing in root bags. And you plant a root bag tree, they grow fast. They're incredible. Have you had experience with
Those little suckers grow faster yet.
Yeah,
I personally don't think they'll hold up to the rigors of a park. People step on them, they'll remove the tree, the baskets, or however you protect them, and I know we protect all the trees from the deer. But they just, and it's, when you, at least for me, I want to see an instant effect. I don't want to sit and wait for a little tree to grow up. You want to have a visual impact and make an impression on people.
That's all about the water, though. You just have to water more often. till they
Yeah, but
catch
we
up.
don't have, that's one of our problems with.
With the city
getting
park?
adequate water anywhere. Water is an issue.
Anywhere in town.
Anywhere.
Is that it? Is that the catch on it?
big problem.
I bought 15, 20 foot trees and didn't have any problem with them establishing.
Although established, there's no problem with that. It's just
And the trees that I bought that were little did not catch up to the 15, 20-foot trees. And lost a lot more of the smaller ones.
Well, as we all know, it depends on the tree, depends on the soil, depends on the microclimate. There's a lot of factors out there.
And is this apples and apples or apples and oranges on the trees? The saplings and the other ones, are they the same, within the same tree?
Yes,
What was it, just out of curiosity?
I planted 8 different varieties of trees. I think he wants to move on, so.
Yeah, you know, it's a good comment. That's a good comment. So,
Yeah. well,
so that was Nikki. I think we need to meet with them quickly, Corey and Nikki both, and go over this again.
Correct.
That's what I think. Because it was just me expressing my opinion to her. I would love to have you, who managed this for years, give you your 2 cents, because I think it's valuable.
Okay.
Again, I tried to argue all the things I just said, and now it wasn't an argument, it was just
Present your
Discussion.
it was presenting my opinion.
For those of us who should have been paying attention somewhere that we weren't, is there a document where we can look at where these trees were planned to be planted?
No, there's no document.
Can you just tell me which side of the park it was?
We thought about a couple different places, one on the southeast corner. We talked about some behind the stage.
At the entrance to the park to the left there, there's a
Yeah,
big area.
that's southeast corner, right? Yeah.
So on the football side or on the other
On
side?
the other side, the main,
streets. Behind the sheet,
Where they're taking out those dead
Yeah.
ones?
yes. Okay, so 5 were taken out, or a few were taken out, not all 5.
So the most appropriate places for evergreen trees and spruce is gonna be on the outskirts, not inside. There's too much
Okay,
shade.
I don't want to divert you, I just wanted to.
No, that's fine, it's fine. So the evergreens are gonna be a challenge, I think, and it's good to have pushback from Public Works. I mean, we have to work with that. Like I said, I'm skipping around. Then she talked about the whole watering thing. I think Sam sent an email out about we can have access. Volunteers can water trees with the city's water system. And it's a convoluted system, she said. She's gonna write up something to, and then she's gonna train us, or train whoever wants to come. Maybe she's gonna open up to the public, maybe it'll, committees, or maybe it'll just be us, but she's gonna write something up for watering. Then something she brought up with the whole idea of not liking the evergreen trees, spruce trees. She said Lee's Park, but Apple Valley. And she mentioned something I've always thought about, are the tennis courts there. There's little bleachers. Oh, they're just tennis courts now. They're pickleball. So they're multi-sport courts. And she mentioned that area. She mentioned it used to be a gravel pit or something up near Apple Valley, right, I don't even know which direction that is, but right behind where the bleachers are set up. And she said there used to be some type of gravel pit. But she said that would be an interesting place for a shade tree. And I've always thought that. In case we need to look for alternative places. Did the Corey Pay thing, Arbor Day, make sure that may change. Then I think we got an email or a text from Paula Martin. Lee's Park, I'm kind of skipping a little bit here, but Lee's Park had some just weird pruning done to a tilia, a linden tree.
What's Lee's Park?
It's a park off of, I can't think of the street.
Off of Fifth, where Nifsis is, and you'd follow that, the school Nifsis, and you'd follow that. It's a trailer park, and it's got a park in the
Okay.
middle of it.
Thank you.
So she mentioned those trees, just some weird pruning in Lee's Park. She also questioned what we're going to do with that globe willow and ash that are right next to each other. We had conversations about that. We never came to a conclusion, did we?
Well, we had just determined that more trees need to be planted there, but they also need to
I
be
think
taken
at
care
that
of.
point in time, maybe more, initially we had decided that to deadwood the willow.
Yeah.
And go from there for now.
Yeah.
And then obviously the ash needs to be
Yep.
pruned and
Yep.
taken care of
Yep.
and And I think it was slated for treatment, if not, we need to get it treated.
Right.
So,
All right. So she brought that up. That was everything we talked about. Do you guys have any questions about that?
So my question would be about what type of trees to plant. There's gonna be another discussion with the town. Is there gonna be a discussion amongst us, because you were representing yourself, as you told her you weren't representing the board, is there gonna be a discussion amongst the board to come to a consensus about what?
That was just a discussion about my opinion on everything.
So that, my question is,
I did not tell her what species we were gonna plant.
but if we're pushing for more trees, at some point, is there gonna be a discussion amongst the board around what trees we have a consensus to push for?
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
yeah, I need to have that discussion.
The other thing that we didn't dwell on this, but it was brought up. I mentioned to her, we are talking about doing a comprehensive plan for all the parks. So we just aren't willy-nilly planting trees without a plan. And she highly recommended that. And I told her, we talked briefly about doing a GPS locate. We can get it into their GPS application. You know, what new trees, what species, that type of thing. And they can have the location right. They use their phones.
So is that something we need to put on an agenda for the next meeting?
Maybe before the next meeting.
I mean, we could talk about it at this meeting.
We can.
We can come to a consensus.
So to answer that question, we'll wait till we get to the Arbor Day one. So it was a good meeting. You know, she has good ideas. She was teaching but I met with her afterwards and we walked around the park. So we had a little more in-depth look at the park and trees, and I just listened to her comments on the difficulty of evergreen trees. I even took some pictures I was gonna show her of here is I'll get 40-foot, 3 or 4, go to the library, I was gonna tell her. Go to the library, look at those spruce trees on the north side. They're beautiful, and they're branched all the way down to the ground. And I thought those would be a perfect example for her to look at.
North side of the
Library.
library.
Yeah.
Yes. They're
Yeah, they're
beautiful.
beautiful. They're beautiful
Right.
trees. All right, that's enough of that one.
And they'll be beautiful for our entire lifetime, and then someone else can too. Right.
So I did not get to see the spruce she talked about at Lee's or at Apple Valley because she showed me a picture. And I just was in shock. But there's education that needs to happen. I think you said that earlier. There's just some education that needs to happen in public works. Yeah, come on. That pruning demonstration, we can talk about that stuff then. All right, if there's no more questions, let's move to number 2. Arbor Day, discuss plans including promotion. So I believe we're gonna change that to May 3rd. Or May 10th, I mean, from May 3rd.
I mean, Arbor Day is arbitrary in
Yep.
ways, right?
Yep.
Across the country
Yep.
in warmer climates, it's
Yep.
the end of this month,
Yep.
or, yes.
Yep.
So we get to decide.
We can move the date ahead to Earth Day. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on that day. It's
I just as soon have Arbor Day be its own day.
Yeah.
And share it with her. That's being a tree guy.
True.
Okay,
I've done that in the past. I don't know if you're familiar, I was a city forester for Brookfield for
okay.
27 years.
Okay.
So I've done a lot of Arbor Days, and I personally, over the last end of my career of planning Arbor Days, I was sick of doing Arbor Days and having canceled because of weather. And when you do them in April, like everybody else in the country likes to do, it just gets grades on it. But I support later in May as possible. And it's just nicer. And
When do you
it's-
think is an ideal day to choose?
I like the 10th.
Of April?
May.
May.
I agree with Tom. In Louisville, my years on the tree board there'd be years when we get nobody to show up because it's cold and rainy.
Yeah.
When we tried to do it the 28th of April, whenever it was.
Mhm.
And so it was just miserable weather. But again, it's Colorado, you can't predict. It could be snowing in May.
The
So-
ground's getting warmer though, so
Yes.
it's better to
Yeah.
plant trees as we push it back.
So let's do it the tenth.
Okay?
All in favor of that?
Bye.
You have to make a motion when you're.
I move we amend the, do we have to amend the agenda or just change the date?
Just changing the date.
I move, we move the date of Arbor Day to May tenth from the third. All in favor?
Second it, I second it.
That's all right. All in favor?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay.
You want it closer?
So we talked about how many trees for Arbor Day. We talked about five trees.
But that means Public Works is on board doing the holes.
Yes,
Caging
yeah,
them.
yes. Yeah, she understood.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, she understood. So to answer Kimberly's question, a lot of times we can't pick out trees, Kimberly, because we have to go to the nursery and see what's available. Like, what's the one you said?
Chelsea.
Chelsea. This guy we got Chelsea's trees for all of Grand Avenue. And we didn't know we were gonna we had 5 trees to get. We had an idea of what they carry, but their lists change all the time. So you can't rely on their website or phone, and calling them is really hard to get a hold of someone often. So we go there with an open mind, and we have 5 or 6 different types of trees we can plant.
I just would say that I'm not in favor of evergreens being planted. That's just my
Okay.
perspective
Yeah.
in the park. I love evergreens. I think they're wonderful, but for me, especially in that location, I don't feel like that's an enhancement for the use of that area of the park. I think they're great over by the bathrooms. There's some evergreens over
There's
there.
some big bold spruce there.
Yeah, I think that's a great spot for them because the kids aren't playing there, people aren't, during the festivals and stuff, people aren't laying around there.
And I would disagree with those trees at the Smith Center. To me, that's a safety hazard there. Because that's a kid's center. And who knows who's lurking? It's hard to see back.
Well, that's a.
So I mean, that's the thing with old spruce trees.
But I'm just letting you know what my thoughts are. I don't know, I'm not in favor of evergreens in the main part of the park.
And would you have a suggestion or like what type of tree?
I haven't really looked at, you have Colorado, you have what water wise trees and then roots, things to think about and then bug things to think about and fire. And I don't know those for Colorado. So I would defer to him or anybody else that has more knowledge about what are good trees to plant here. I mean, there are so many things to think about. I mean, you have buildings there, so I guess roots aren't as much of a concern. But you do have the stage there, so whatever, I don't have an opinion about which ones, just the ones that they would recommend for, a park.
I'm a little torn, and I've been torn on evergreen trees at the park, but variety is good. Those trees are getting old. I mean, who knows how much longer some of those are gonna last.
There's some there that have orange tags, those are gonna be taken out, yeah, I assume, because the deer and stuff have kind of,
Yeah, they're just old.
It's old.
Just old.
They're hazardous.
it looked like they'd been scraping on the.
They could have been, but that's not the reason.
Okay.
Those are all, to me, over mature maples, and they have hollows, and there's issues with these trees. The older a tree gets, the more it's more prone to failure.
And there's some mountain ash too, they
The
just
mountain ash.
don't live that long down here.
They had seen their day.
So that would be another thing of, you wouldn't want to plant a tree that's short-lived, right?
Correct. And these are all, what's the word, legacy trees? They planted 3 different varieties. Silver maple and some linden and catalpa. I mean, there's not that much variety in the park, so we're trying to introduce variety.
Isn't there some sort of organization for Colorado that suggests, you know, these are appropriate trees for,
Now, you can go to the Colorado Tree Coalition website, they have recommendations. So there's a lot of areas in Colorado for resources on species. As far as selecting trees in town park, the majority of those trees are silver maples. You can't buy silver maples anymore for a reason. And, but we need to promote both age. We have, the problem with the town of Paonia right now is we have a age and species diversity problem. We have old trees and we have one or two species.
We have a monoculture.
We have a monoculture, which is not good. Because
no,
whenever you have an insect or a disease issue, you lose them all. So, I think with that said, when we need to look at selecting species all over the town, we need to avoid maples almost exclusively. Maples don't like Colorado, in my opinion. So, you could probably do box elders, but they're quick growing, funky trees sometimes.
box elder, no.
Yeah, they're maple. But we don't have many oaks. We need oaks. And then there's Kentucky coffee tree, there's hackberries, there's lindens, there's honey locust. So there's a big palette that we can pick from and get diversity.
So honey locusts aren't invasive here,
Black locusts are,
Black locust.
but honey locusts aren't.
It's two
And there's
different-
different varieties that work better here than others. So there's lots of trees to choose from. So let's don't spend any more time talking
Okay.
about, no, this is all good.
Yeah,
Sam, how do we do this? So we need to meet as a group to go to the park and with Public Works to talk about some things, or can we meet with Public Works here?
Well, you could either meet with Public Works here, or I can publicly notice that you guys will be going to the town park to do a walkthrough. And more than one board member is probably gonna be present. You just have to make it open to where anybody can come if they want to.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
So if you just email me and let me know which way you want to do it and a date, I can make sure that notification gets put.
Well, board, does anyone have time this week? Do we have time? Maybe like after 1 o'clock?
I need at least
Friday, I
24 hours
could.
notice.
How many days?
I need at least 24 hours notice.
Okay.
I could do Friday.
let me check.
You're so busy.
It's when you have one car, it makes you busy. We share a car.
So Sam, can we email each other to find this out? Can we do that legally?
Yeah, you can do it as long as you're not having a big group email. Like,
We can email individual people.
you can email individual people, yeah. You just can't be making decisions in there.
So we can't say, please reply to this string if you can or can't
No,
make it.
you need
on
to actually
Wednesday.
say, do not reply all. And take individual things back, and then always remember, just because it's new to you guys, that because you have a town email, it is subject to Cora. So you always want to be careful about what you're saying, and there's a chance that it could be released as public record, so.
Tell you what, here's what I'm gonna do then. I'm gonna talk to Corey and Nikki, see what time they have available, and then I will get to the board.
I think early next week might be a better option for me. but-
I also have doodle poll, so if you get a couple of different dates, I can actually send out a doodle poll for you guys to do, so you can decide which days best.
Okay.
But I will talk to Public Works.
Okay.
And see what they have.
May I just ask, what did you say that a Colorado organization was that has recommendations for trees? What is the name of that?
Colorado Tree Coalition.
Kimberly, you can go on our website and we have all those links.
Okay.
Well, if Ruben ever got his, button here, we'd have all those links on the website. And he knows our teeth.
That list that they put out, though, that's the carbon capture trees, right? Pretty much.
All trees capture. All trees capture carbon,
No, it's not specific.
but it's not specific for that.
That looks like a list to me. I mean,
Yeah.
and the black one.
You just need to-
That is, to me, that.
No, that's
I have
not
some
me.
other ones, but I never thought of using them.
I wouldn't
For a
put it
while.
on black walnut per
I
se.
wouldn't
Some kind of
either,
metal.
That's for another discussion. So, but yeah,
but it's on your recommended list.
I don't know, I haven't.
It's on the website,
But it's
recommended, black walnut.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I meant
I
to,
just looked it up.
no, I made the right of way tree list. I wouldn't have put black walnut on that
You did.
right away.
It's there. Check it again.
So let's go to number 3,
Okay.
the subcommittee report. So Tom wasn't there to talk to Cory and Nikki, but we talked about doing the park comprehensive plan. And the other thing I talked to Nikki about, since Cory wasn't there, was pruning. It's something Tom and I already talked about. They want to take care of the branches that are hanging over the right of way. And they want to take care, so basically over the street and over the sidewalk. And so they can't do it themselves, so they have to hire somebody to do that. And when I told Tom and I talked about it, I thought, I drove all the streets and looked, I said, it's gonna take a good crew 4 hours, there's not that much. But then I did not think about putting cones out, getting traffic, getting people to move their cars, there's all this stuff I didn't consider, I was just looking at the work. So Nikki and I talked about that. So that's kind of the update until we can get a comprehensive plan it worked out. Now, one thing I would like to talk about, the comprehensive plan. It might have been Christina and I, or it might have been kind of the old tree board. We talked about Lee's Park as a potential arboretum. Because right now, Lee's Park isn't really used except by maybe that little neighborhood. And there's a crabapple, there's a linden, and there's a globe willow and a ash. So there's not a lot going on.
No, there's not a lot of trees.
So that may be something to think about. And I don't know, to do that, we probably have to get neighborhood organizations, get the public involved, take some polls and just see, what would be a good use of that park. But I think that's something to go forward with, just to talk about.
Talk of it.
And then we have our Arbor Day, it's already made. We just keep planting a different couple species every year right there at the Arboretum. So I thought that was an interesting idea that we had a long time ago to talk about this town park priority and other parks, not just town parks. So the town park priority on the agenda, that's going to get addressed, we hope, with planting this year for our. Any questions?
Well, originally we had talked about a pine tree because we talked about sort of a holiday tree, Christmas tree, something that we could light up when the streets were not lit up and have like a gathering place, and that was the essential foundation of a tree there. So
When you say there,
at the park,
at town,
yeah,
Okay.
that was the reason why. And because there was a space there opened up, that was the basis for it. We can plant anything there. I mean, we could plant the oak.
Maybe we compromise and say, we would like to put a holiday tree in the park, just one tree. And then we can work with them over time on how to properly prune a spruce tree, so they don't limit up to high. And because you can lift up and take off a few of the bottom mortal branches without pruning the integrity of the tree. So, but I think that might be a compromise that we say, hey, can we then we'll put these crab apples in the oaks and stuff that we talked.
So in a way, tonight, I think we should get a handle on where we're moving towards, what we're gonna plant, because.
This year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like in a month, because we need to move on that. We need to get them and pick them out.
I'm gonna get a hold of Nikki and Cory and see when we can do that.
When or what?
When we can meet with them.
Okay,
Because we don't want to let the evergreen tree thing die. Because we're all in favor, or the majority's in favor of, I know Grace in favor.
yeah.
So we need to talk with them though. I think
Yeah.
that's important, just to get
We
their
need to
buy-in.
include them in
Well-
the discussion.
Yeah,
That day, we decided it was a pine, up
yes,
for discussion, pine tree, 2 of the crab apples, oak,
So,
and whatever we decide.
yeah,
whatever we can find at Chelsea's or where.
well, I'm going to Chelsea.
Where is Chelsea?
It's in Clifton. It's a great place. We can talk about that. If you're a plant geek, it's a good place to go.
That already, by the gazebo, that, what was that, ash?
Mhm.
Not the regular, the
The
ash
mountain-
came
the
down
mountain ash. Okay.
already.
Okay,
And
good.
Skip calls me, he's like, what happened to that tree? And as I looked in there, it was just completely
So
hollow.
great, we need, is the stump still there?
I took a picture of this,
Good.
yeah.
We need to, just as a sidelight, but when we as board members are out looking at trees, take pictures.
Yeah.
They don't have to be great, and sometimes we'll get a good picture with your phone, but we need to document why we're doing certain things to our trees, so the citizenry can look at, oh, I didn't realize. And if they see a tree with a hollow, it
Right.
represents.
And that could be a
Danger.
good, that could be a good photograph from the Sick Tree Day, page.
Yeah.
Somehow.
I also think that we should lock in a date. Well, you're gonna meet with Corey. Is that important? Does Public Works want Tom to go over like pruning practices?
Yes.
And that's a, I think is a separate with their staff only.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't
Yes.
include that way. We probably don't have to have a meeting per se. I mean, we'll be included into their staff meeting. So.
So,
Being around the block.
excuse me, I need to jump back up to Arbor Day. We also talked about doing, I forgot all about this, a pruning demonstration associated with Arbor Day, right? Or was that was gonna be the same day, I thought?
I
Yeah.
thought that was just
Weekend?
Public Works.
No, that's two different things. The public.
Grade one did try to do a pruning demonstration of
Yeah.
some sort.
Yeah.
The problem is there's really not great trees to try to prune.
Apple Valley.
But we can't just load up and go to a different park.
So two different events.
Two different events. Because personally, I don't mind teaching people how to properly prune trees, but they don't need to be thinking that they need to climb or use a ladder to prune the trees. And once a tree gets to a certain size, they need to hire a trained professional.
Yes.
So,
So we kind of jumped around a little bit. So I think we're done with the subcommittee report. I kind of jumped all over there. So number 4 is assigned subcommittee for the master planting for the parks. So I guess at this time, who wants to be on it?
That was your
Well,
baby.
yeah. I'm willing to help out, and certainly we need to use the GIS technology. We need to be plotting these points where we want trees and maybe putting down a couple of lists of recommended species to go there, but it just can't. And then hopefully we can, at some point in time, I used to be able to do ArcGIS or some in my past life, right? I don't have, I'm probably really bad at it. But we need, ArcView is a great tool to make maps and show people where you are and what you want to do. So,
So with that, how do we get the community involved? Do we first come up with a plan and then get the community buy-in or discussion? Or do we get them discussing parts first, what they wanted to see, and then do we start designing?
Buy-in for
Buy-in for what these 3 public parks
the master plan, is that what you're saying? Okay,
could do for number 4 here, for the master plan for the town park.
I think we just go one at a time, obviously.
yeah, I think
We're
we
gonna-
can't do, we can work on all the parts, but I think we have to do them separately, because it's gonna be impact each neighborhood instead of the town itself. And I just look at Apple Valley and I look at Lee's Park, those trees, both of those are primed for just putting in
Yes.
more trees. Town Park is primed for replacing the old trees and discussing, and this is a way to let them know, we're gonna start cutting down trees here. Because some of these are not in
Don't-
good shape and. they
Don't be
need to go.
shocked when you start. seeing
I've dealt with
Yeah.
people that cut down trees. And I'll bring up stories I know and scare them away. But we need to have discussions so people understand we're going to try to do some understory planning if we can. And we're going to have a plan to ease these trees out because we got to do work within our budget too. And that's the other issues. You have to work within your budget.
I think people would be interested, say, for Apple Valley,
Oh, yeah.
You get, send word out to everybody in that neighborhood, they come, it's a Saturday, it's beautiful. How do landscape architects do their business? And, how do you design an understory? People would be absolutely captivated for a day like that.
So Sam and Ruben, how do we get the public involved? How can we invite them? How do we get the word out? Do we meet here? Do we meet at the park? On a weekend? What's your opinion of that?
Well, the first thing there would be just to set the meeting, and then we have a bunch of different ways that we can help get it out. We have the town Facebook page, the town website. We send out notifications on text.my.gov that go to people who signed up for that. You could do flyers and put them out and around places. I don't know, coffee shop. You'd have to see where would be willing to let you put things out, but there's lots of places that people gather. Polis Park has a bulletin board on it. I don't know if there's anything at Town Park. Not at Town Park, and then other than that, I mean, you're just gonna have to do like word of mouth. If you give enough lead time on it, then maybe we could maybe reach out to either Frank with the DCI, or maybe possibly if you know somebody with the shopper. Sometimes they like to do little blurbs and stories like that. Maybe KVNF.
You put it.
A lot of people follow the Peonia, Colorado, not just the Peonia Facebook page.
I like this.
There's the message board and all that stuff.
Well, and once we put it on the town web page, I mean, any of you who have access to any of those message boards where you think would be interested, it's easy enough for you to share that into it. I know Christina does it with her group all the time. She's got pretty good.
And I thought I heard you say that you wanted to maybe select a specific area.
Yeah, like if we were doing Apple.
That's
Yeah.
like that. You can pull up the map and say, oh, we might send a message to these people in this area, and only send it to those.
But I think everyone should know, no matter which park you're doing, because everybody goes to most of the parks. I mean, people that go to parks go to all of them. I sometimes go to the River Park, the Town Park, and the Apple Valley Park all in one day.
The River Park is a county park, isn't it?
Yes,
It is. I
town
think,
property, county run, it's weird.
But I mean, I think all of the parks are for everyone, they're not just for the people that live.
No,
around
I
there.
agree, and I think as small as Paonia is, I think you need to invite all the citizenry to every event, so we can start getting some people involved in wanting to promote trees through the whole.
And maybe little subcommittees form, there's a Lee's Park, there's a Town Park, there's a Apple Valley Neighborhood Committee.
Yeah.
Somehow.
That's a good idea.
So I think from a landscape architect point of view, you want to do a comprehensive plan first and talk about all the parts. It's kind of what we're kind of saying, so people are aware, it's not gonna just be Town Park. It's gonna be, maybe they're thinking, oh, we need this, this, and this. Well, maybe Town Park isn't the place for it. Maybe Lee's Park is, maybe Apple Valley. So if you give people a comprehensive kind of a 30,000 foot view of what our intentions are at the first meeting, then you localize to Apple Valley, to Lee's, to Town. But I think the overall plan, we gotta work this stuff out before we just start.
Yeah.
I agree, otherwise it's gonna take forever. You don't have a starting point that then you can discuss down.
No, I think we start out, if we're gonna discuss all three parks or areas, we start with maybe a PowerPoint or some sort of presentation here in this room, and then you move out. And then we plan to go specifically to each park.
That's kind of the way I think of it, and then try to get town input. I haven't done this kind of stuff for 100 years. So,
Well, and we can also get the town board involved. You guys are an advisory board to them, so you could also, you have a trustee liaison that could make sure to get that announced and pushed out at meetings.
so anybody else besides Tom and I want to be on this up?
I'll be on the subcommittee for like publicity, which is not hard at all. Once you pass things locked in with the dates and what you're
There's some
realize
other thoughts. I've got.
there's, message boards are like 30,000 people on there. That doesn't, it's not, that's not.
Believe
an
me,
issue.
everybody comes here
But-
if it's free.
Yeah,
But I
oh,
think
know,
like these
but-
plans can get
Yeah.
super,
You want your crowd?
heavy. And then suddenly
I
you're a year
agree.
in and
Yeah.
still nothing's planted, you know what I mean? So it's just like, oh, we have a master plan going, but
You know.
I think if
and
you
half
just
of
take it
them buy.
one park at a time, it's
That's
like,
the problem.
and get some, charrettes going on out there, it's like doable, and then you're committed. But
But
the
I think-
the whole like master plan, I mean, this master plan, it's smaller, certainly the tree master plan, but has been there for years and years and years.
What
So
tree master?
I'm saying this current master plan that the town is doing, it's been like years, so I don't want, I want to do something that's like doable, in chunks. Maybe not the whole master plan, maybe chunky ideas of the master plan, but then go in and do a park and,
But I don't think you can do individual parts without looking at the whole. You have to look at the whole, then you start concentrating on individual pieces.
I agree.
I agree with everything you said.
you can, but not in the details, but the chunky sort of,
And the way I'm looking at this, guys, is it's concepts. It's, do you want a park? Do you want play equipment? Do you want trail system? Do you want a BMW?
but that's already been done in the parks study. There was a huge parks report, 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
But
We
that
need to
wasn't,
review that.
yeah, it was very, they didn't have like any
Wasn't
location, no, it was just
But it
kind of
was
the
playground
idea.
equipment and all of that, yeah.
Did they
But
say
if
where
it
they
gives you
wanted
the
it?
big picture, we can build off of that.
Did they say Lee's? Did they say town?
Yeah, I
Did they
mean, that's
say-
all in. It was a parks report, yeah.
Okay. So you're saying a lot of the work's already been done?
I'll
We need
send
to
you that.
review that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went to a couple of meetings and they were hard to follow.
Uh-huh.
They
Okay.
were very,
There's a
those were difficult.
big old parks and, what's the parks and trails master plan?
Oh,
already.
Paonia in motion.
Paonia in motion. So,
Okay, good.
As far as the committee, I'm happy to be on any committee that I might be able to contribute to. If there's a need for another person, if there's, I assume a committee would be more than one person. So are you gonna be on that committee?
Yeah, I believe so. Like,
So the two of you are probably really good.
well, we, a different perspective. We probably tend to be more a kindred spirit and more tree huggers, and we need somebody to give us a different perspective.
So Sam, when we do, we have to announce it on the website that we're having a committee meeting, but there's four.
Not if there's only two of you.
What if there's 3 or 4 of us?
If there's 3 or 4 of you, then it has to be noticed.
There's
as a
more than
public meeting.
two, you have to.
Let me just say, how many people are gonna show up?
That's one of the reasons why the board has 2-person committees amongst itself, because then they can actually get together, work on something and bring it back to the board.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta tell them.
But however, just so you know, as long as the room is open and you can always call down and check, if you guys want to meet here at town hall, as long as the room's not reserved for something, that's also doable for you guys.
But you can't be spontaneous when you have 3 people. Like when it's just you two could call each other and meet up, but if you have 3, then you can't just do that.
Then you have to have 24 hours notice in the flyer.
Okay, well, I think it's something that we keep our committees to too.
Okay, any other comments?
we all just have to be at Sweetgrass.
No, that is
Say
big trouble.
So actually, the law provides for that. So you can all go to the same social event as long as you don't talk about town
That's
business. You're allowed to socialize, you're just not allowed to talk about town business. Like,
What if we just in Pig Latin?
I have big Latin, so you're gonna have to pick something new.
They always say it's not only whether you're doing something wrong, but whether it looks like you're doing something wrong.
The appearance of it.
Okay, so did we make any determinations?
Tom and I are gonna start it, and we'll keep updating the board. We will look at the master plan. And they talk really general conceptual language, right?
I mean,
just
it
need
was
to
a
read-
big,
let's
it
read
was a
it.
big plan. It was, I
It
don't know.
was gonna
80
connect the
pages.
trails.
It's public record. I'm happy to send you a copy.
Yeah.
I was just quick asking.
Please do.
I thought there was
Send it to
the
really
whole board.
worded down.
Yeah, fabulous.
They all
So
need
long.
it.
No, that's fine.
Meetings.
I wanna linger.
I'm just saying, you don't have to guess, we can actually look at. it.
Yeah, I think that should be a homework for all of us, is to read when we get our email for the link to Paonia in Motion. To read it.
And this section on the parks was there like a section in the plan? Was
It's
it-
a whole study by itself called Paonia in Motion.
And that's the park, just the parks.
No.
It's
Yeah.
the town.
It was finished, but it was never adopted by the board, but it was finished. And I'm gonna use it as ransom to get you all into your town emails, so get in touch with me so I can help get you set up in there. I can't send town business outside of town.
That's fine.
So
I signed up, I just don't know how to do it.
I'm more than happy to walk you through it. If I'm not here for we'll both find time to help you guys get comfortable with it, so.
Thank you, Sam.
So my question to you would be, are we not allowed to, we always, if we're communicating with each other, must use that email?
The board passed an ordinance that said that any member of a board, commissioner, or committee that has a town email has to use it for town business, and part of that is for Quora. If you're using your private emails and somebody's saying that you guys are having conversations you shouldn't be having, I'm not the custodian of your records, and by state statute, I'm the custodian of records, including emails, specifically emails. So that's one
So
of
if
the,
there's any discussion between us, any of us, that has to do with this board, we must use a town email.
you should, yes.
Well, that hasn't been my experience in other.
Well, but the board also just recently passed an ordinance.
Okay,
It's
for
been
this
codified.
town,
Yes,
okay.
so.
Well, we can call, like I could call.
One person.
Yeah, I mean,
You can call
we can
and
have
text
conversations.
individually,
one
but
at a
not-
time.
Well,
I can't be the record for your
We can
voice
set up-
unless you're recording it.
So with what Sam said, and you might have done this, Sam, and I might have missed it, can you send a key out, because we're tree board 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't know what number I even
Yeah.
was.
I will send
Can you
one
send
out.
that out so we all know?
I was just
we're all
making notes of
designated
it for myself.
You could be tree board 5. You could be 4. I don't know what you are.
She's 6.
I think I was four.
So that's gonna be helpful.
So, but no, I will send that out to you along with Paonia in Motion, so.
Have you sent out something that explains what you just explained to all the members? About that we must use our.
Oh, I can, or you can get on the town website and read the.
I'm just
Paonia
thinking
Municipal
that
Board.
there might have been one person that sent one out and that didn't know. So,
No, I'm happy to send you the ordinance as well.
Yeah, we've all known about this.
Yeah, 'cause I-
For like 2 months.
Yeah.
That's
I
why
got an email to my email address.
It was the same ordinance
And
that
that might have been before this.
brought you guys to where you're being, where you have minutes, where you have
That's
an
right.
official agenda, the packet.
Okay.
There's a
It was all
real
a part of the
inside
same
to it.
ordinance.
Yes.
It was to make you
I know we
have
had all
less
slipped
gray
up.
hair
We
dealing
all
with all the
slipped up.
committees.
And we're sending it personally, even though Sam said don't do it, we all slipped up. So that might happen.
I just don't want anybody to get in trouble, that's all.
The most important thing you can do is if you accidentally do something, is just be transparent about it. People make mistakes all the time. It's whether or not you're transparent about the fact that you did something. You discuss something that you shouldn't be discussing, you need to bring it up in a public meeting to cure it.
And I think now we can blame things on Mike if we do get into that kind of trouble.
I'm warning you. He blames back, he does it all the time, so be prepared.
So I want to publicly apologize. So I made these tree lists over like 2 or 3 years, and I have an old one, I think, in my hand, and it says Juglin's Niagara, but I never put a common name. So I didn't mean to have this on the one that's published. I gotta double check that. So I apologize for saying, I would never do that, because I would never do that. I did it, but I was questioning myself because I'm looking at an older list that I have.
Yeah,
And I updated this thing for a couple of years.
okay,
So I apologize to you.
okay. I'm just dealt with black walnuts before.
Oh.
the only tree that grows in Iowa, and it's not a good one.
Oaks are great, though.
Yeah, we're gonna look at that. So just to recap real quick, I'm gonna get a hold of Corey and Nikki, see when we can meet. Talk about the tree planting in town park. And talk specifically about evergreen trees.
And specifically let him know that we're planting 5 trees and
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
that-
And let
For
them know
Arbor
again that they're gonna dig the holes for us,
Yes.
that they do. So yeah, just to go over that again.
Yeah, and that we're just gonna have a tree planting event,
Yep.
not a tree pruning event.
Yeah, and we didn't, right, that's gonna be separate when they want
So
us
you
to.
could prune that Zelkovia that's out here.
I know,
We could have a tree pruning event right
it
here.
really needs,
That one,
Yes.
and we could do the redwoods or whatever across the
Rain tree.
Polis Park.
All right, so I will ask you
That's
about
just discussion.
to meet at the park and
That's-
also tree pruning. I'll talk to you about that too.
Well, and then we need to just be part of their staff.
Yep.
That way we don't have to do anything.
And I don't know when they have staff meetings, I mean, maybe Monday. That's when they
I don't know, but he can call a special staff
Yep.
meeting.
Oh, there you go. So that's important, and then getting the word out for Arbor Day.
Yeah.
To do that, and then, we've gotta find the trees.
I will look tomorrow.
Oh, cool, cool.
And they take some.
Any other things that are really important that I missed? We got the committees, we talked about those things. Anything else we need to go over? Because it's just about time, well, it's been 5 minutes old.
You have to get done in an hour. And get done.
I like that.
I know, I agree.
Yeah. Well, if no one has anything else to talk about,
Do we have any public comment?
no public comments. So I move we adjourn the meeting, all in favor?
second it.
Aye.